Listen, we all know that the RB class in 2024 isn't nearly as strong as it has been in the past. We had Achane and Gibbs and Breece Hall. Kyron Williams came out of 2022. Bijan Robinson in 2023. None of those cats exist here in 2024, but I know that. You know that. Everybody knows that. So we ain't going to spend a lot of time talking about everything that the RB class here in 2024 is not. I want to spend some time talking about the archetype of running back that seems to be having success at the NFL level. And can we find any of those cats here in 2024 that could provide some value for us from a fantasy perspective here in the fall? And I think the answer to that question is yes. Let's get into it.
Okay, let's get it. Bitch, let's get it.
Welcome back to the station. Welcome back to the channel. Y'all know it is your boy Ray G. You can find me on X at RayGQ, and this will be my top 10 running backs pre-NFL Combine heading in to Saturday's events. I want to talk about archetype of running backs that seems to be having success at the next level. Got two kind of cats. You got the big, bruising, physically imposing, 6 foot, 5'11", 220 plus pound running back that can just absorb carries. I'm talking about Isaiah Pacheco. You see it with the Joe Mixons of the world, Ezekiel Elliott, Ramondre Stevenson. Those guys are the cats that can turn around and tote the rock 20 plus times week after week. And then you also have this subset of running backs that are the dynamic, space-changing, 4-minute offense, 2-minute drill, pass-catching weapon running backs. And we all know that in fantasy, a target is worth a lot more than a carry. So I'm looking for that archetype of running back. If I can find it in that 5'11", 210, 215-pound package, great. But if not, the game is changing, man. The size and things like that, a little bit overrated in today's game. Can you get on the field, run the rock, catch passes, and ball out? There's a couple of cats in this class that can do that. At RB10, I've got Ray Davis out of Kentucky. Got to meet him and his pops in Mobile during the Senior Bowl. Really, really solid young man. Well put together. Traveled throughout his time. Started out at Temple, moved on to Vanderbilt, and finished his career at Kentucky. 5'10", 216 pounds. He's a running back that can bang between the tackles, but Ray Davis got a nice little receiving profile with his game as well. He's an older running back. I don't really care too much about that now. Running backs don't last very long in the NFL. Unfortunately, we know what it is, right? A couple of years, and then you're moving on and cycling through those running backs. Ray Davis is the type of cat that I think is going to wind up on a team, be a nice contributor for an NFL offense. Will he ever be a true workhorse running back at the next level? Doubtful for that, but you just don't see that a lot in today's game anyway. I think he's going to be a nice role committee type running back for a team that's already kind of got a guy. Nice backup running back, somebody that you want to roster, but I do like his game quite a bit. Let's move on to my RB9 in this class. That's Notre Dame running back Audric Estime, another big, physically imposing running back. 5'11", over 220 pounds. He put up a crazy season in 2023 with over 1,300 yards and 18 touchdowns. Caught 17 passes, forced 64 missed tackles. He had 38 10-plus yard runs, and he had 892 yards this season after contact. He was 7th in the country in 15-plus yard runs with 22 and 9th with yards after contact. So you're talking about a player that's not only going to be able to take them carries up the gut, he's got a nose for the end zone, as evidenced by those 18 touchdowns. And when you put hands on him, he's not falling down to the ground. He is an ideal first and second down bruiser, not going to be deployed in space as a weapon in the receiving game. But Audric Estime is a part of a committee. If he can find some way to seize a role for some early down work, I think he could find some success at the next level. Like his game, and I think he's probably going to test at least his straight line speed a little bit better than people think on Saturday. Audric Estime out of Notre Dame, my RB9 in the class. Let's move on to RB8. Marshawn Lloyd out of USC. And this young man coming out of high school was one of the highest rated recruits at the running back position, suffered a devastating knee injury early in his career, and it took him a while to get things back on track, but finally got an opportunity to put it all together this season with Lincoln Riley out there in USC, and he put up 820 yards, 9 touchdowns, caught 13 passes, 252, over 1,000 total yards, and his elusive rating, according to PFF, number 1 in college football. Again, got to meet and talk to him at the Senior Bowl. 5'9", 5'10", 210 pounds. He's not the biggest running back, but he's quick, He's electric in space. And even though he didn't catch a lot of passes, when you squint hard enough and you look at that USC offense, Caleb Williams was his claim to fame, extending plays, making something out of nothing. He wasn't checking down to the running back much at all. But in Mobile, Marshawn did display a lot of his ability that he can bring to an NFL team out of the backfield, lined up in the slot and in space. It's a player that I think is going to be a little better suited for the NFL than he was for college because he's going to have to catch the ball. I see some comps out there to Aaron Jones, and I don't hate it. Kind of like it. Marshawn Lloyd, really good player, my RB8. How's he going to test this weekend? I don't know. I think he's going to test okay, but I don't think he's going to blow the doors off of the combine. But neither here nor there. You turn on the tape, this young man can play. Big fan of USC running back Marshawn Lloyd. Now let's talk about, in my opinion, the most polarizing running back in this class because there's so much to like about this young man. And I'm talking about Wisconsin running back Braelon Allen. Go through the history of them Wisconsin backs. Y'all already know. Jonathan Taylor, Ron Dane, Melvin Gordon, James White was there. I mean, the list goes on and on and on for talented Wisconsin running backs. Braelon Allen, the youngest of them all, might be the youngest damn player in the NFL the moment he was drafted. Bursted onto the scene as a freshman, over 1,200 yards. Smashed 1,200 yards. Yards after contact was nice. It truly looked like we had Derrick Henry reincarnated. Now, every year after his freshman year, the production decreased a little bit. And one of the things that you don't see out of Braelon Allen is that receiving profile. Braelon Allen this past season, in his final year, 984 yards, averaged 5.4 carries, still got you 12 touchdowns, 28 receptions. Now, I just want to put some context to these 28 catches at or behind the line of scrimmage. I'm talking about his A-dot lower, -2 yards, average depth of target. So he is not being deployed down the field as a weapon in space. They used multiple backs this year. Just kind of not the type of season that you really wanted to see out of Braelon Allen. But he is very young, came into college, and was doing all of that. 1,200 yards, 10-plus touchdowns at 17 years old. Power 5 Division I. I mean, that's just, I can't even comprehend the level of skill and talent you have to have in your body in order to do that. 6'2", 235-plus pounds. Probably going to test really good for his size, but I just don't see a lot of answers to muddied situations. He's not the quickest as far as agility and his lateral quickness. I think he's got good footwork through the hole. Like to see him play with a little more power, but more importantly, y'all, it's his lack of work in the receiving game that prevents me from putting him inside my top 5 or top 3 running backs. It's a lot of guys either love Braelon Allen or hate him. I'm neither on one side or the other. I think he's a fine running back. He's a young running back, which means there's a lot of room to grow. The physical tools are there. We'll just have to see where he lands. And before we get to RB6, I think that's important. All these running backs, in my opinion, they're probably going to be drafted around the same range. Late second, but probably third round to fifth round. All these cats are going to come off the board. So you're not going to be able to lean on draft capital. You're not going to be able to lean on that team fit, opportunity, situation, scheme. That's going to be important here in 2024. We don't have the clear-cut guys, so it makes it hard for analysts that don't know what the hell they're talking about to really give you an assessment on these cats and how they might fit in at the next level. But when you got all these guys being drafted within the same range, those schemes, the team fits, the situations, that thing is going to reign paramount over any film evaluation, anything that you check out from a ranking standpoint. Where the hell do they land? What's that opportunity look like? And can they get on the field and score some points early? Let's talk about RB6 in the class, and I'm a sucker for SEC rushers. Jaylen Wright out of Tennessee is one of the cats that I really like him, and I think he's going to smash here on Saturday. At 5'11", 210-plus pounds, speed is the name of the game for this young man. Yards after contact per attempt, according to PFF in 2023, Jaylen Wright, number 1 in college football, 4.35 yards after contact per attempt. You combine that with what some people think he will run sub 4.4 in the 40-yard dash. Fantasy gamers are itching to put a running back at RB1. And a couple of videos ago, I said, after the combine, I think we'll see an overreaction to Jaylen Wright's speed. And this might be the cat that people start to push up into that top 2 or potentially even RB1 in the 2024 class. He's got good size, really good speed. He's not really a pass-catching weapon, But when you've got that type of speed, it kind of makes up for whatever lack of receiving profile you have. Jaylen Wright will be a riser after Saturday, my RB6. Let's get into the top 5 guys. And again, another running back who I was really, really high on coming into the season. But offensively, they just struggled for whatever reason. And you saw the production not be there for multiple players on this team. 2 wide receivers, tight end, and this running back out of Florida State, Trey Benson. 6'1", 220-plus pounds, played special teams the year before, transferred from Oregon. He's a big boy that can move. Trey Benson, for his size, is probably going to test and move very well here on Saturday. I wouldn't bill him as a receiving weapon, but he's probably like a little better than just an early first and second down grinder. He can be used in the receiving game, maybe not as dynamic as some of the other cats that we'll talk about in a second, but with that size, with his speed, he can find a nice home. He will be a very good player for us at the next level. He kind of gives me, and not just play style comp-wise, but just sort of maybe what his role looks like at the next level, kind of like David Montgomery, right, where he could be a lead back by himself for a little bit and you get some solid production, but probably better suited in a tandem role with another running back. I like Trey Benson, my RB5 going into this weekend. Now, my top 4 running backs, you got 3 guys that are going to be viewed as pass-catching weapons, and I've said that for the longest time. There's a difference between running backs that can catch passes and running backs that can be deployed as pass-catching weapons. Some of y'all might be shocked by this one, but Will Shipley out of Clemson, my RB4 heading into the combine. He's 5'11", 215 pounds, 21 years old, early declare, and is projected to have sub 4.45 speed. We'll see how that works out. Sophomore season, he absolutely smashed with over 1,100 rushing yards, 38 receptions this past season. A little bit banged up, 827 yards, 7 touchdowns, 31 catches. This young man is very good. Yeah, and I know that you will see and hear lazy comps to Christian McCaffrey or Danny Woodhead because he's white, but nah, man. Will Shipley will lower the shoulder, put his face mask through your chest, and deliver some pain. He's got burst, acceleration, speed, good lateral quickness. Now, he doesn't force a lot of missed tackles, but there's a couple of running backs that we are still drafting very high in Dynasty that don't force a lot of missed tackles as well. When you can put him in space, line him up on the outside, he is the ideal partner for an early first and second down runner, somebody that you can play in the 2-minute offense, the 4-minute offense, or isolated on his own, give him some sporadic drives by himself. Do I think he's going to be a lead back at the next level? No, but I do believe he is going to carve out a very, very nice role for himself at the next level. Think about what we wanted Antonio Gibson to be. Think about what Tony Pollard was in tandem with Ezekiel Elliott. I'm not comparing him to Pollard or Antonio Gibson, but in a offense and scheme fit-wise, I think that's the type of role that Will Shipley best fits into. And he's 210 pounds, so he can run between the tackles. Good size, good pedigree, highly touted recruit. Big fan of Will Shipley's game. Top 3 running backs, this cat right here is going to be a dynamic space player at the next level. Marquise Bucky Irving, running back out of Oregon, my RB3 heading into the combine. This past year, 186 attempts, over 1,100 yards and 11 TDs. 56 damn receptions for 413 yards and 2 touchdowns. 69 missed tackles for 743 yards after contact. 34 10-plus yard runs. 149.2 elusive rating, 91.8 PFF grade, 7.2 yards per reception. Bucky Irving is a pass-catching monster. Back-to-back 1,100-yard seasons as well. On the ground, you watch him, he's slippery. Man, the dude doesn't go down on first contact. Kind of got them Alvin Kamara when he get hit vibes as far as his body position and how he's able to avoid defenders. That lateral cut, that quick twitch ability, Bucky Irving is nice with it. This is going to be a beautiful pass-catching, third-down-plus type role player at the next level. Lead back for Bucky Irving, not seeing that within his range of outcomes, but we already know a target is worth more than a rush attempt. Give me all the Bucky Irving I can have. Expect him to put on a show as well in Indianapolis. Now, let's talk about a player who I have at RB2, who I just think is the most complete running back in this class. He may not be special in one individual area, but I think his overall game, his footwork, his lateral quickness, and just the way that he's able to rip off chunk plays. Blake Corum out of Michigan going into the combine, my RB2 in this class. Know he suffered the knee injury, didn't quite look the same after that, but 27 rushing touchdowns. The production that he's done over his past 2 years at Michigan and getting some carries early in his career. This is a player, in my opinion, reminds me of what Ray Rice was coming out of Rutgers. I think Blake Corum is just going to be a solid running back at the next level. Spectacular? No. Great? No. Solid? Yes. Usable? Absolutely. And a player that I think NFL teams are going to covet for his work ethic, how hard he works, the praise that he's been given, and how good he is between the tackles when he's going north and south. Really, really like Blake Corum's game. Some people don't. I'm a big fan of his game. Blake Corum, my RB2, going to the Combine. And RB1, we're going to Austin, Texas, a couple hours south of me, and talking about Jonathon Brooks, the redshirt sophomore who declared early after 1,100 yards, 10 touchdowns, 25 receptions this year, 286 yards, 1 touchdown, 63 missed tackles forced, and 732 yards after contact in limited duty. That's how good Jonathon Brooks is. 6 foot, close to 210 pounds. Not going to participate at the Combine because of the knee issue, but apparently rumors are he is ahead of schedule and could potentially even be ready for summertime workouts, clearing the way for him to play in the preseason and be available for us come September week 1. This young man, in my opinion, the best running back in this class, the best combination of speed, receiving versatility, power, youth, age, athleticism, all of that stuff. Jonathon Brooks, really good player. And if I were to bet on any of these running backs hitting a higher end ceiling, higher end range of outcome for us in fantasy football, it's Jonathon Brooks. Jonathon Brooks, my RB1 heading into this weekend. RB2, Blake Corum. RB3, Bucky Irving out of Oregon. RB4, Will Shipley from Clemson. RB5, Trey Benson. RB6, Jaylen Wright from Tennessee. RB7, I've got Braelon Allen. RB8, Marshawn Lloyd from USC. 9, I've got Audric Estime out of Notre Dame. And RB10, Ray Davis from Kentucky. Appreciate y'all tapping in to this episode. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button. Like the content, subscribe to the channel, comment below. Let me know which running back you're most in on in 2024. And make sure you're hanging out with me tomorrow. I'm live streaming the whole damn Saturday. We're going to see the quarterbacks, the running backs, and the receivers. Live stream joined by my DD fam, crew, Scott Connor, other folks to jump on. We're going to do mock drafts, giveaway stuff, and have a damn good time. So make sure you tapped in 1 p.m. Eastern time over here on the channel. Let's react to these live Combine times and have some fun. Thank y'all. Enjoy. I'm out. Peace.